Yes, I'm actually recording this session on my other system. So it will not be pointing it here, but then it is getting recorded. Ma'am, I'll share that file with you. I'll put it on Drive and I'll share it with you. Yes, ma'am. Okay. So, yes, you can go to your embed platform. You can sign up here. Okay. And once you do sign up, you can go to the hardware section. You can click on boards. We saw this on day one as well, that there are more than 160 options available to you. And most of these options are not available in India on any of the retail stores. Okay, so how do you actually, if you are willing to make a project, how do you actually procure these boards? You can simply type it. You can get it on eBay. You can get most of the boards on Element 14, and or you can just simply Google them, and there are a lot of vendors. There are few who deliver it via Pune. Okay, so you can take help of those. In case you are not able to find any good channel or any uh, cost effective channel, you can then let us know. We will help you out with procuring the boards. Or if there is a case where you want to make a project and you do not wish to buy the board, you just want to use our boards, do your project thing, and then return it back to us. We are open to that as well. So there are ways in which you can procure your boards. Let's look at our board first. So let's click on KL25Z. Okay, I type KL25Z, I get 3-4 options here. There is 25, there's 27, there's 64 as well. We will click on 25 for now. Yes, so this slide or this page gives you the entire specification sheet or data sheet or overview of your KL25Z board. Okay, there is a buy now option here. So in case, like I said, if you are able to do it from here also, it's fine. Most of these vendors, because this is a professional board, you require GST numbers at sometimes. And even if GST number is not mandatory, if you do not put a GST number, you have to pay a very heavy excise duty to import these boards. Okay, it comes from USA. So like I said, you can just let us know and we can figure that way for you. Uh, okay, let's first look at the pin diagram. Compare this particular pin diagram to your Arduino board. Okay, Arduino has very few pins. Okay, very few GPIOs, general purpose input output pins. There are some analog pins, digital pins. You have VCC and ground, which is 3.3 or 5 volts as VCC, and then ground, a couple of grounds given to you. Here, if you closely observe, you have your power section here on your top left corner. If you can see the cursor where I have it, you can see it. You have your 3.3, 3V3 is 3.3, so you have two 3 volt, 3.3 volt options. You have one 5 volt option. That means you can, if via USB, if this board is connected to any system, any laptop or computer, you can use these three pins to power some other peripheral devices as well. Now, suppose you don't want to use the USB here. If you are making a portable system, you can't run with your laptop, correct? So, instead of using the USBs, you can actually use the V-in pin which is given here. I'm sure you can see this. The V-in pin. V-in is voltage in, where you can take voltage from any other portable power supply. It could be battery, it could be a power bank. Okay, you can make use of any other external power supply and run this entire board. And if you use this V-in pin here, you can actually use the other three pins to power other devices as well. So instead of using USB, you can power your board via a single pin as well if you are making a portable device. However, USB is more reliable. So if it is a stationary or a static system, you can, if you are able to keep it at a place, I would prefer to have a USB connection instead of a V-in connection. Then you have your analog pins, digital pins. You have PWM pins. But if you want to vary your voltage for a particular application, you can actually do that as well. I'll do that in a project today, where I'll talk about what is PWM and how you can, maneuver your output depending upon the width of the pulse. So those options are there. Now, do you see this black color option here, black color patch at the bottom? Now, this black patch is nothing but a touch screen given to you. It's a capacitive touch screen which is there on the board. Now, this touch screen, you can use it for various purposes. You can divide the entire touch screen into 3 columns. So this is, the left end is 0% length and the right end is the 100% length of the touch screen. So you can divide this touch into 3 columns, okay, 33 and 66, and use this particular patch as a mouse. Left click, right click, and center click for scrolling. You can control any number of devices. Okay, it can act as a switch, and since it is a surface switch, you can divide your surface into whatever number of divisions you want. You can divide it into 10 perpendicular sections, 10 perpendicular vertical sections, and connect 10 devices. And depending upon where you are applying your pressure, where you are touching the sensor, you can switch on or switch off or control that particular device. Okay, and it is not just vertical, you can have horizontal divisions as well. So it's a touch screen or a touch switch given to you. We will do a practical with this as well today. Okay, like I said, there's a touch slider here. You have an RGB LED. We played with the LED on day 1. With this, with these 2 devices, you also have another input element which is a sensor, which is accelerometer. We will do a practical with accelerometer today. I will make changes in the programs as well, just to make you understand how multi-axis accelerometer works. We will talk about the functioning of accelerometer for those who are in second year and they have not used accelerometer or are not aware of it. We will talk about it when we are doing the practicals. What I'm trying to show you here is that you have all these options already present on the board, and hence it is slightly expensive than your Arduino. If you look at the sentence which is given here, it also gives you the idea about the processor size, the processing bits at a time. So it is a 32-bit ARM Cortex M0 Plus processor. Okay, the clock speed is 48 megahertz. You have a flash memory, you have a RAM memory as well, so you can store a small bit of information. I'll give you a small example of it, again comparing it to Arduino because that is the most popular development board. Suppose you are doing a GSM based project. GSM is SIM90 kit. If you take, and if you try to you put a SIM card there and you try to make your own mobile phone. Arduino does not have enough memory to have any ringtones in your phone. So if you are using a SIM300 or a SIM900 kit, you will not be able to change the ringtone that you get. It has a fixed ringtone, some 222222 bajta hai usme, and you cannot make changes in that. Why? It's not that you cannot write a program, but it doesn't have enough memory to store some audio file and then play it. But here you can do that. If you are using this particular device with any other, so if you want to store information and go ahead and perform something, you have good enough memory to do that. Now it may look really small compared to your mobile phones, right? What is 16 and 128 KB? Nothing. ठीक है, गार्बेज फाइल जो होती है आफ्टर डिलीटिंग, ओके, और योर वायरस फाइल जो होती है वो भी इससे बड़ी होती है. But it is good enough for us to go ahead and do projects or to build prototypes. Now this is a detailed specification sheet of your KL25Z board. You can just go through it. I don't want to read all the numbers. Okay. So you have your critical features, which is you have 2 USB options. It supports peripheral interface, IC to IC communication, UART, which is uh, serial communication options. Then you have your pulse width options. You have ADC, which is 16-bit, but it is a programmable ADC. So you can change the resolution of your output. I'll give an example of this when we are doing the accelerometer project, that how changing resolutions can increase accuracy but then create new set of problems for you. So I'll talk about accuracy based problems there. Then if you scroll down, if you come on at the lower side of the page, you have instructions how to set it up, how to do your first project. And once you do your first project, like we did a project of LEDs on day one, that is good enough for you to do any project, because then your system is working. Then you have a system that is ready with you and it works. Like here you see you have a, in the folders option, you have the desktop, sorry, in the desktop option you have the embed option, embed as e file. In some of you, in some of your systems, it might not be embed, it might be KL25Z, it could be like in my devices, because of antivirus it says unknown devices or something like that, removable device, e-disk, something like that. But if you have a device which is being shown there, or if you have a folder which is shown there, once you connect the device, that is where you can copy your codes and get your things to work. Okay, and then how to set up a serial communication channel, here it is given to you. There is also something called terminal view, which is when you're doing any communication between devices using a USB or any serial mode of communication, you can view that at a lot of terminals that are there. There is something called hyper terminal, which is present in most of our computers. There is Teraterm, there is Brace terminal, and there are a lot of various terminals where you can see your data and you can change its format. You need not do it via program or via hardware. You have these terminals that which can play with your data. You can get your data in text format, you can get it in bin file, binary file, hex file, normal decimal file, octa. If depending upon what data type you're looking at, you can change that. You can plot real-time graphs and you can do those stuff. So this is an overview of your KL25Z board. Okay, it has a lot of pins. If I go into detailed description of the board, our entire day will be utilized in just this. You can just look at the pins, right? You can just look at the pins. There are close to 40 odd pins here. So we cannot go to pin by pin wise explanation of how they are used. But as and when we are using it in projects, I'll talk about it. Okay. Now let's go to the compiler. Okay, before we go to the compiler, the first project that we are doing is with LCD monitor. Okay. So this is something that we did. Yeah. You can have various versions or various variations in your LCD monitor. Okay. The one that we are using is not 16 by 2, because 16 by 2 is very small to show you an output on webcam. Okay, so I am going to use a 20 by 4 display screen, but you can use 16 by 2. The best thing is, for all these LCDs, the pin structure is same, the programming structure is same. So you can have the same set of codes, but you can replace your LCDs with the same pin connections. Let's talk about the pins first. Okay, now these are really important. This is how you connect any of your you can have LCD as your viewing output window with you, and you can make any project to check your output in text form. So let's talk about the pins that we have. In all, you can see a total of 16 pins here. Okay, pin number 1, starting from top, is your ground pin, VSS pin. Pin number 2 is your VCC or 5-volt power supply. So the top 2 pins are utilized in power supply. Okay, pin number 3, VEE, is your contrast control pin. Now if you look at your screen carefully, your screen is green in color. Okay, it is a lighter shade of dark green. I hope you understand. It is a lighter shade of dark green. So in this case, it is always advantageous to write alphabets in or characters in black color here. Correct? So if I'm writing in black color, I want all the I want the foreground or all the LCDs to display black points there, which means I will connect the contrast to 0 voltage, and hence pin number 3 is also connected to ground. So 1 and 3 are connected to ground. If my voice is breaking, there's very little that I can do, but just hang in there, man. If you miss out on a couple of points, please just hang in there. I'll share the PPT with you. And since it is getting recorded in my particular system, if we are able to put this into a video, we will be able to, you all will be able to revise everything. Okay, because in my system, voice is getting recorded perfectly. Just give me 1 second. I think it should be better now. Yes, in the chat, if you can just let me know if the voice is better now. Is it better now? Okay, okay. Just let me know, since I have two systems with me. You can just write in a message. I'll directly address that. Thank you. Okay. So looking at the pin diagram, pin number 3, contrast control, like I said, is also connected to ground because we want maximum contrast, and for maximum contrast we need to give 0 voltage or logic 0 to the LEDs that we are using for display. By doing that, we convert it into black color, which is the best to view on a green screen, on a greenish screen. So pin number 3 is also connected to ground. Pin number 4, I'll talk about it later. Pin number 5 is read write pin. Read is logic 1, write should actually be write bar, which is logic 0. So if we give a logic 1 to this particular pin, we are able to do read operations, and if we give a logic 0 to this, we are able to do the write operation. In most cases, you will always write on an LCD. You will always display data on LCD. When I say read via microcontroller. So that will never happen. Microcontroller will always put data on LCD or write data on LCD. So keeping that in mind, we will connect logic 0 to RW as well. Logic 0 is same as ground. So please remember this. Pin number 1, which is ground, pin number 3, which is VEE, contrast pin, and pin number 5, which is your read write pin. These 3 pins are connected to ground. Pin number 2 is VCC, so plus 5 volts. Now we will talk about pin number 5 and 6. Pin number 5 is register select. LCD has two types of registers: data registers and control registers. Data register does the operation of putting the data or writing the data on LCD. Control registers are used to do control operations on LCD. Now, what are these control operations? If I do not want to start from top left corner, if I don't want to start the printing from top left corner, I can start it somewhere in between. Okay. If you do this in your Word documents, you put data center aligned, correct? You put data at the very center when you are writing the topics or headings. So if I want to do that on this particular LCD, I'll do some control options, which is shifting the cursor at the center. So those are control operations, or starting from line number 2 instead of line number 1. Correct. So when I have to do control operations, I use the control registers. When I do the writing operations, I use the data registers. Now it is very difficult for me to manually change or toggle between between data and control operations. So what we do is we give the control of pin number 4 to microcontroller. So remember this, pin number 4 is controlled by microcontroller. Pin number 5, which is enable pin, it is microcontroller which enables or starts the LCD. So pin number 6 is also controlled by your microcontroller. So we connect 4 pins directly, which is pin number 1, 2, 3 and 5. 1, 3 and 5 at ground, pin number 2 at 5 volts, which is VCC. Pin number 4 and pin number 6 are controlled by microcontroller. So these are your 6 control pins. After that you have 8 data pins. D0 to D7 you have 8 data pins. These data pins are actually used to transfer or to put data from microcontroller onto your LCD screens. Now again, for all the projects that we will do, for all the projects that you will do, you do not require to put all 8 data pins in, or you do not require to use all 8 data pins. The reason is you do not require that level of accuracy. It only adds to number of physical connections leading to errors. So at most cases, we are only going to utilize the top 4 data bits, which is D4 to D7. That is what we use to transfer information, and there is no loss or not. You do not compromise on accuracy. I will do a project with 4 pins and I will show it to you. The last 2 pins are your backlight LEDs. Okay, like I said, it's a greenish screen. If you are operating in sunlight, it is at times difficult to look at what is printed. Okay, you will face similar problems when you take your mobile phones and go in sunlight. Okay, there are some applications that do not automatically brighten your screen. You know, so in those cases you have to manually brighten it, or if your auto bright control, you know, makes your screen, you in some way or the other have to make your screen bright. For doing that, we are given 2 extra pins, which is backlight LEDs, pin number 15 and 16. Pin number 15 is again connected to a logic 1, which is 5 volts, and pin number 16 is connected to ground. That will switch on some LEDs at the sides to brighten your screen. This is all about your LCD output screen. It is just a 16 pin IC, 16 pin output device, in which first 6 pins are control pins. You have 8 data pins and 2 backlight pins. 2 backlight pins not necessary to connect. The lower nibble D0 to D3 can also be avoided. So actually you can just connect 10 pins and get your output. That is what we will do right now. So let's move on to the project which is based on this. What we will do now is we will go to our compiler. So let me just clear the screen. Okay. We can actually go to new, make a new project and build the project, type the project, type the instruction set and get the project built. But I made it ready already. We will just double click on the name of the project. We will go to the main.cpp file. Okay, so we have, no, we will not do this. We'll go to LCD basic. Yeah, a very basic project. Now, quickly try and understand the code and then we will build and see the output as well. What we're doing here is, we did it on day 1 as well, which was we had embed.h, hash include embed.h at the top, which is your basic header file to run any embed code. Since we discussed about KL25Z board at the beginning and there was no LCD screen built in, or there was no direct connection, we externally have to connect an LCD screen, and there are a lot of programs, there are a lot of setup that we need to do to connect these two. But like I said, on day one, we were talking about APIs, right? API structure of programming. I'll just give me 1 minute to explain that again. So APIs, I said on day one, are those functions that you can use, which they are already built inside your system. Okay, you do not have to write those functions in your programs. You can just call those functions and it works very well. Okay, so we are going to do a similar thing here. We have included a text LCD header file. It enables us to use all the APIs that LCD screen uses. Okay, so now we can use those directly. We need not write what those functions do. We can directly use it. One more point, because all of you are from EXTC. We as electronics telecommunication engineers, or we as non-CSIT engineers, when we go to work for TCS, for any IT company, we are expected to use these APIs well. Okay, so our job and the CSIT people are expected to make these APIs. Understand the difference. They are the ones who create APIs because they are more into software, so they understand how softwares work, how how you have to keep environment in check while writing all your instructions, and everything that goes into programming. We are expected to code using APIs. So that makes our jobs easier. So let's come back. We will use APIs here directly. I said there are 4 pins that we connect directly, which is VCC ground, power control pins, contrast and read write pins, which are also connected to ground. So those 4 pins are connected directly. There are 6 pins that we have to connect. Register select, which is your RS pin. Look on the screen. Register select. You have then your enable pin. Correct? And with enable, you have your upper nibble, which is D4 to D7. Okay, I need not have these things written. Okay, so 4 pins of data and 2 control pins. These are the 6 pins that we have to connect. So I've declared those 6 pins here. LCD on the we are using the text LCD header. So text LCD, name of the LCD, name of the variable is LCD. 6 pins PTD1, PTD3, PTD2, PTD0, PTD5 and PTA13. So I'm declaring 6 pins here. Now the question that should pop in your head is, why have I named these pins out of order? Why have I not gone from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and then last pin to PTD section का ही नहीं है, वो PTA section का है. Correct? That's a very logical question to have. Why are these pins not connected in an order, right? The reason for that is, there's a logical explanation. Now the reason for that is, come here. Come to the pin diagram. If you see, this is how NXP, the manufacturer of this board, is naming its pins. So it is, if you look here on the right side, if you just follow my cursor here, PTD1, PTD3, 205 and the last pin is PTA13. So because उन्होंने नाम टेढ़ा मेढ़ा दिया था, I am also connecting my pins. I am naming them टेढ़ा मेढ़ा, but I am going, my connections are going to look parallel. Okay, just because they have named these pins in out of order, I am also naming my pins out of order. Had they given the name of their pins in the same order, I would have done the same thing, or all of us would have done the same thing. Now, we declare 6 pins where we are going to connect our LCD 6 pins. In the main section, I am just writing one small thing, which is hello world. Achha, hello world is too basic. Let me write something else. Let's write Bharti Vidyapeeth. How do you write it? COE. I hope this is right. Bharti Vidyapeeth College of Engineering. Or is it Bharti Vidyapeeth IT? I think it is College of Engineering, right? So let's keep it this way. I'm not changing it. Print F, you all know. It's a normal C language instruction which says we are writing something, right? And if you are using C++, we write C out instead of printf. If you are writing something else, depending on which language you are using, your command will vary, but it's a printing statement that we are doing. Now let's try and compile this code. Okay. Okay, it is taking some time. Just one second, I'll fix it up.